Once upon a time, in a kingdom on a hill, old enemies came together to rule, and peace prevailed. It was an enchanted time, filled with mirth. But after 12 happy months, one king was replaced, and a dark spell fell upon the land. The laughter stopped, goodwill disappeared, and government fell into a deep, deep sleep. It's easy to forget that fairy tales are often pretty dark and scary, even if they're supposed to have a happy ending. Certainly the narrative at Stormont has taken a sinister turn, but was it entirely unexpected? The SDLP claim the crisis was foretold 2 years ago in Scotland.
Well, the Chuckle Brothers were an illusion. There was no substance to the chuckling. In fact, there was no great goodwill between the DUP and Sinn Féin. The reality is that no real government took place during that period of time. All the problems started to build up: education, PPS 14, water charges, all sorts of things built up during that period of time. And now we see the outworking of that. We see deadlock, we see stasis, and that's a result very largely of a very bad deal negotiated at St Andrews by Sinn Féin.
While characters are vital in any story, it's important not to lose sight of the plot, and even subplots in this complicated tale. It's primarily, though not solely, policing and justice that has put a curse on things at present. It's not just a question of when these powers should be granted, but who should wave the wand. Could the Alliance Party play the part of fairy godmother and break the evil spell?
If it was as simple as finding an appointment for the Ministry of Policing and Justice, I would have thought the situation would be reasonably simple, but there's so many other major problems that have to be dealt with, which frankly to the man in the street are far more pressing and important. I mean, nobody coming to me and saying we really need a Minister for Justice here, this country's going to ruin. That's not happening. We've got a police service, we've got a justice service. Now you're asking me directly, should the Alliance Party take that post? Well, that's a bridge we would cross for a start when we're asked. The only people who have asked us about this is the media. We haven't been approached formally by any other party. There's plenty of aside remarks, but no approach. And if we were approached, then we would have to consider it. David Ford is quite right to say never, but I'll give you my humble opinion. I don't see the circumstances developing where the Alliance Party could take that post.
Indeed, there's every possibility that people will get tired of listening to the same old story. Crises can be dramatic, but stalemate can be a complete snooze. But what about the public? Is there a danger that they'll get bored with this narrative?
They are bored. I mean, we're only back a week and they are bored, and that is that they're not switched on to us coming back. They have their priorities, and I'm afraid the priorities of what Sinn Féin and the DUP are after don't match the public's priorities. People, are struggling, and they think that we're fat cats sitting up here not caring. And if we lose that aspect that we care, then not only they'll be bored, they'll turn their backs on us.
The Prime Minister himself rode into the enchanted forest at Stormont this week in an effort to guide our politicians onto the right path.
I'm reminded of the poem by the American writer Robert Frost. He wrote once, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled, and that has made all the difference.
A lovely poem, perhaps, but completely inappropriate. You see, Gordon Brown isn't the one in charge of the narrative. At present, that job belongs to Sinn Féin. And to get an insight into their thinking, perhaps it's time to speak to a Republican scribe.
Well, there's a political storm rolling through Stormont at the minute, and the DUP's running out of umbrellas. For a year, Sinn Féin pandered to Ian Paisley. They allowed him to have his position as Prime Minister of this little statelet. And really over the last few weeks they've said if Peter Robertson wants corporate governance and government, he has to have that. That means partnership government, that means equality within government, and that's a total mood change within government. And Peter Robinson, I think, has been taken by surprise at this, and he has to make his mind up over the next few days and weeks. Is he up for partnership government with Sinn Féin guaranteeing his place in power, just as he guarantees Sinn Féin's place in power?
That's the scoop from within republicanism. It's not personalities, it's purely tactics. So, what's the view from the other side? John, the ice cream is one thing, but how have people here in the Shankill reacted to the change in flavour, if you like, of politics at Stormont?
Well, I think it's a case of maybe same old, but with a few different faces. The issues that are impacting on this community are still there and still need to be resolved. And they need to be resolved sooner rather than later.
But while the issues might be the same, the tactics have changed at Stormont. Sinn Féin has dug its heels in. Do you think people here want the DUP to change tactics too?
Well, I think the issue's still there in terms of policing and justice, and a minister that could potentially come from a political party that a few years ago had a paramilitary wing.
Meanwhile, the big sleep continues at Stormont. A fairy tale ending may yet be found. It's up to the parties to write the tale.